There we go. And there should also be sound. Let us know if there are any sound issues. We have changed our setup once again. And there we go.
Yeah. Should we tell the story, or will we let them discover it?
Let's let the intro play out, and then maybe we can give a little more information after that. I think this is the first time the intro of the game has been shown, certainly in full and certainly publicly. This is the build that we showed people at Gamescom. So if anybody's read any previews from press or such, then yeah, you will have heard about this, but you won't have seen it yourselves. Are those swords in the game? No, those swords are separate, but also awesome. There's no swords in Call of Cthulhu confirmed. Not even on a wall somewhere?
No tentacle cutting, slashing. That doesn't
we
work.
don't cut any tentacles?
No, it's not that kind of game.
Is this a remake from the older one? It's not. This is a new story, right?
Yeah, it's a new story, and it takes its inspiration from the role-playing game Pen and Paper, as you say, and also from all the stories from Lovecraft. So it's a brand new story with a new character called Edward Pierce.
Who is
this heavy chain keeps the gate locked.
I just
hard-boiled detective.
It's very difficult to say.
Yeah, he's a cool character actually, and I personally, and
you like him.
This is honest. I like him, and I like his voice acting particularly. And he talks to himself through the game. You guys are hopefully hearing him a little bit right now when he's complaining about not being able to see and the general sort of weird scenarios. And
yeah, the actor was great. I think it's one of the best thing in the game where the voice acting is excellent. We put a lot of effort into the writing, into the dialogues, and we got very good actors to convey that in the game. Yeah,
it has some really nice voice acting, and it's so important, right? Because it's a game about characters. We've got a question here that's is there a way to defend yourself? It's not a combat game. It is an RPG.
Yeah.
There are moments within the game where you come into conflict with other characters, and we don't want to spoil too much, but there are moments where stuff like that maybe happens. But 95% of the game is characters talking to each other and solving problems.
The creators of the mythos are way much stronger than us. You can't even look at them in the eyes. It's very dangerous. You will lose sanity if you do that. So you can just hide and seek and try to. You can't verify them and try to get away, and that's all. Yeah,
they're mysterious beings. They are not. They're not just a guy that you can punch and get him out of your way. And when there are times when that happens, then sometimes you have that option available to you, and you'll see maybe some of that as we go through. What else? What other questions have we got? Did you play the RPG when you were?
Yes, exactly. And our main game designer used to be, of course, a good game master of the RPG.
Okay, very well experienced.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it is the official adaptation of Chaosium's RPG, which has existed for, it's a long time now that they've been making editions, right?
Yeah.
And I always wanted to play it. I haven't played it personally. I never managed to find a group that wanted to delve into the depths of Cthulhu with me.
It's very difficult and very cool at the same time. That I never had a good ending anytime I played.
Because
the game is not about and this is not about having a good ending. It's about seeing how far you can go with your character and how you will die lonely and miserably, and how mad you will be at that moment.
So as you can see, poor Mr. Pierce has woken up.
Yeah.
It was all a dream. Or was it?
Yeah, I love how he says.
It's been a while since I jotted down something.
You can drink whiskey. Maybe we should show the player what happens if you drink too much whiskey.
Oh yes, yes. So in fact, playing for us today, it's neither of us. You may have seen no controllers in our hand when we're on camera. Is Tom? Tom, say hello.
Hello.
They can't see you.
They can't see you.
Tom is here. He's doing our controls, and he's the one now downing whiskies at a rate of knots.
So many questions. I don't have the time to read them.
Let me take a look through. So this game is a horror RPG. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
Horror elements, RPG elements.
Narrative.
And then, a narrative game on top of that. A lot of talking, a lot of investigating people, and now we're drunk.
So what's the background of the main character? Edward Pierce is a former soldier from the Great War. He was in France, and where he saw terrible things. So he has
Wentworth Agency doesn't attract top-notch
psychological problems.
He was in the First World War. He did not have a good time in the First World War, as most people involved with that did not.
Exactly, and he has also an alcoholism problem, and he's now a detective, but he's not a top-notch detective.
No.
Yeah.
So he's very good at his job, though. It's just that he is an alcoholic,
Yeah.
and he has PTSD,
Yeah.
and it's the 20s.
Yeah.
Not the best time to be dealing with those issues, not
Yeah,
the kind of
exactly.
support structures that we have
Exactly.
today. So he's very good at what he does, and you'll see that as we
should
explore
get
through the game, exactly his capabilities when it comes to that sort of thing. But he's also not supernatural. He's just a man dealing with...
Exactly. With the
Incredible
occult
problems.
and, yeah.
Natural sciences.
I'm pretty sure it's Jonathan Reed's voice. It is, in fact, the same voice actor that was the main character of
Good old
Vampire, one
story
of
of
Focus
Black
Home's other games. He did a fantastic job with that. Does a
Yeah.
fantastic job with this. I didn't notice myself, but I think he's brilliant. And he was recently in the latest WoW expansion, where he's also great.
I'm listening.
So we have I'm looking at the questions.
How does skill? Let's go with this. So, how do the skill upgrades work with the detective style game?
So you have various skills, and they will help you, of course, progress through the game. They will impact on the way you solve puzzles. Like, for
Is that
example,
right?
if you are very strong on strength, you can intimidate people. You can also try to force your way, forcing doors. How do you
Yeah,
say
forcing
that?
through doors. Yeah. No, you got
exactly,
it. You got it.
Thank you.
So, in fact, you see the skill menu that we have at the moment
cool.
is on screen at the moment. Now, this is
Exactly.
in development. I've actually seen a new version
it
of this
changed, yeah.
that's coming up.
Changed,
We didn't have it for the build today. We need to make sure that we had a stable build and so on and so forth. So this is going to take some changes, but you see the basics of it here. And it should be very familiar to anybody that played the RPG, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like spot hidden is direct take from the RPG table pen and paper. How you say that?
Yeah.
So there is strength. Yes, you have to be strength to progress through the game for what we are going to show you. All the skills you need character points to enhance them, except for the two who are orange, medicine and occultism. You have to read books like in the RPG to increase them. And of course, you may guess that occultism has a price to pay. The more you will be versed in this,
Yeah.
okay. The more you will be versed in that skill, maybe the more crazy you will be.
It's you don't want to get too close to the occult, but you also need to. It's a trade-off.
And you want to.
And you want to
I
because
guess.
it's
You
it's
play-
entertaining.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the estimated time you need to finish this game?
It depends if you read anything or not. It's from
Yeah.
10 to 15 hours.
Okay, yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
about right. I think my first run took
Work is
around
scarce.
13, 14.
Yeah.
And that was a different version of the game, which had
Yeah,
less, we've been
exactly.
adding content and that sort of thing.
Yeah. It depends
so,
if you're good or not.
yeah, it depends how many mistakes you make along the way.
Yeah. And if you're afraid of the dark, maybe. That's probably
That actually,
like
honestly, that was one of the reasons it took me
Yes,
as long as it
there's
did.
one map that is
coming.
so frightening. So we don't resort to jump scare, this kind of
No,
stuff.
not too much.
This is not our style, but it's all about the atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
the sound design. Our sound designer is excellent. I love him. Hello, Swan. And there's that map. I can't tell you a lot about that, but what's funny in the studio is that when each one of us has to test it, to check, I don't know, the dialogues or something, we have to play it and we remove the audio
You're
because
free to
we are
leave
very
anytime.
afraid of it. Even if I have
you
played
know
it
to
like
whom you
dozens of
speak?
times and I
Stephen
still am
Webster,
afraid of it.
Industrial
Sometimes I scream.
One of the levels we might
All of Boston.
show later if we get
Tell
far
me,
enough
Mr.
is the one that took
Pierce,
me
are you
ages.
capable
The
of
manor
handling
just took
a
me
new
ages to get
case, or
through.
are you
It
so
reminded me of some
why?
old games that freaked me out. It's got
Yeah.
like that little kind of Silent Hill vibe to it slightly. It reminded me of the hotel level in Vampire from 2003, and I was just like, oh, I can't do this. I kept tabbing out like, oh, there's an email I must write. I must do this. And, I got through it in the end.
Sarah Hawkins.
So what is happening right now is this is the father of one Sarah
Yeah, Stephen
Hawkins.
Webster.
He's come
Accuse her
to
of killing her family.
So-
get Edward Pierce essentially
Yeah,
to
to give
investigate
her a
his daughter's death.
her
Yeah.
husband.
So what we try to
Simon,
do
my
is
grandson.
building the tension. So it begins like a classic detective
Find
novel.
out the truth.
That guy comes
They say
in
she
and
was
he gives you a
mad, but
case
I
that
know
doesn't
that's a
seem
lie.
very interesting.
She
It's
would
about
never have
an
done
already
such a
dead
thing.
girl, so you're like,
if you
I can't do
have
anything
no
for her. But
I've
he kind of
brought all that
insists,
I have.
and you need the
Look.
money, so you will accept the case
want
and
you
you
to
will go
look
to
carefully
Darkwater.
at this
And
painting.
of course, for the people who buy the game and love Lovecraft, you
Tell me
already
all
have
the
a few
assumptions
hints
that
about
come to mind.
how creepy or strange it might be. Because the dead girl used to be a painter, as you can see the painting
What am I
here,
supposed to
and
find?
she was,
Tell me-
how do you say,
Tell
habitée?
me if this is the work of
Living?
madness.
No, it's not that. He's
Or
not that
if,
good
on
in
the contrary,
French.
you manage
She
to
has
detect some
visions,
logic,
and she
a
paints her
rationality
visions.
behind
I've
It's
been
like
set up.
it's like she can
Is that all
see
you want from
things, and
Yes.
of course the fact
right.
that what possessed. Yes, thank you. She's possessed.
That's
I'm
all you've
sorry
got?
for my accents. I'm
painting?
very French.
I placed a file
It gets
on your
more
desk.
French than this.
It contains
Okay.
As,
everything I
as
have
an
on
Englishman
the
in
affair.
France, it gets more French than this. What else have we got? The character reminds me of Watson from Sherlock Holmes. Is this a reference or coincidence? You are the one to ask about this.
Yeah, not at all.
Not at all? Coincidence?
No.
There you go.
I think he's kind of sexy. He's wholesome. No, handsome.
Handsome.
Yeah.
Aware
Who, Watson or Pierce? Or both?
No, Pierce.
Pierce?
Sketches
is
of the
better.
Hawkins family.
I think Pierce is quite handsome.
Yeah, he's
Rather
mine.
thin.
Yeah.
Replay value. Difficulty settings, no, but multiple choices on situations, yes.
4 different endings
Mm-hmm.
depending on your choices during the game, and
It's
also
as if
your
Sarah
level of
Hawkins
sanity. of
breathed
course.
a message into it.
So, Mr. Pierce,
There is no good.
What do you
ending.
make of
There's
these?
the bad ending.
There's the
very
worst
bad
ending, the even worse ending.
and the not that bad, but not
Still
very.
pretty bad ending.
Yeah, still pretty bad, and sad.
So you see our conversation system here. Now you notice there's unlocked answers. These come from things that you've investigated in the world.
I think
Given
your
that we're in the
daughter
tutorial, the investigation here was
That's what
looking
I
at the thing on the
believe, too.
desk that we were given.
It was
But they
3 months
get more
ago that I
advanced through the
received
course of the
a call
game, for
from the police
example,
telling me of my
and you
daughter's death.
you'll
If you
investigate
find
a scene and
letter,
you'll
this
yeah
kind of stuff.
exactly.
If you find a letter, you can go
The
back to
painting
the
is linked to
captain,
this
talk
case,
about
can't you
the
see?
right of the letter,
You
this kind of
must
stuff,
find the meaning
and
behind
also
all
you
this.
can use your skills in during dialogues. Yes, investigation. Maybe we should show investigation.
Her
This one
husband
is
was a
unlocked
big
because
deal.
you have the good investigation level.
Police are
Means
sticking
you're a
to
good
the accident
investigator.
Though they mentioned Sarah's mental state was fragile. I believe you are right, sir. This case is not as simple as it appears.
I am aware of that.
Please
I
translate
believe there
into
is more to this
Japanese.
case than just
Yeah,
an
my Japanese is a
accident.
little bit rusty. Kagebunshin no jutsu, that's all I can say in Japanese.
Better than my job.
You must
Yeah,
tell
that's
me
from Naruto.
if what the police suggest about the mental
sorry.
state of your daughter is true.
No. Sarah had
Oh, they
visions.
won't be-
Everyone knew
Yes,
that.
Stop talking.
She never would have hurt a fly. She only thought
Did
she
you play
saw
Dark Corners of
things.
the Earth?
No,
Saw
I'm sorry,
things.
never.
I have. It was
Oh.
good.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, because
I
you're
never
the
knew
old
what
words.
she meant by that.
Am I? I
My
don't
daughter
know.
was an
My guess.
enigmatic figure, Mr. Pierce.
Yes, the
You
game is
must
coming
find out the
30th
truth about her
of
life.
October.
Yep. Just in
And
time for
death.
Halloween.
Yeah, because Halloween is a very
The sender's
important
label
date in
mentions
Lovecraft's work.
warehouse.
Oh, really? I didn't know if he actually made any references
That's
to it
right.
or not.
Yes,
came
of
with
course,
Sarah's
it's from
last
the
painting.
novel, the
And you
short
think
story,
your
The Call
daughter
of
could have
Cthulhu.
been the
Oh,
sender?
well, there we go.
Directly, yeah,
What
because
you
you have
must
to know
find
that
out.
Lovecraft was
Go to
very
Dark
good
World.
at everything
Find Warehouse
science
36.
related, in astronomy, this kind of stuff. He loved it, but the occult
I think
in
I'm
his
beginning to
work
understand.
of art is
I'm willing to
not
do
that
anything for my daughter to recover her
seriously
honor.
taken.
Quiet
He didn't really like
I'm on your
occultism,
side.
so every time he
Let's
has
sum
to
things up.
pick a date
An
or
artist dies
express
with her
something,
family
he
in the house
doesn't look at
Your only
much.
clue
He just says, "Okay, Halloween
There's
is
a sort
good."
of
Because
promontory
Lovecraft
painting
was
sent
really
from
afraid
Darkwater
of
right before her death.
Correct.
the
rumors
size of
about
the
her supposed
universe.
folly.
In the
Which you don't
1920s,
totally
it's
deny.
time of great
Find that
astronomical
warehouse.
discoveries,
Find out the
and
truth regarding
they
Sarah
just
Hawkins' death.
discover how
You'll be
small we
handsomely
are in the
compensated.
universe, and this
All
is
right.
something that
I'll take the
frightened
case.
him.
I'll go to Darkwater.
Yeah, that inspired him, the cosmic horror,
Thank you, Mr.
the idea of
Pierce.
the great
I
old
didn't
ones,
expect any
these
less coming from a
mighty
man in
gods,
your
not very
situation.
mighty, not like Thor.
Something's queer.
Yeah, strange
not
strange
like I have a
beings,
choice.
Unexplainable,
yeah,
inexplicable.
far
Dark
away from our grasp, what our
I think I've got a
small
book
spirit
art
can
glitters
take.
off the coast of
Can
Boston.
you tell us which Lovecraft stories
But I've
inspired
never
this
heard
game, besides Call of
According to
Cthulhu
this
and Shadow
book,
of Innsmouth, presumably?
It was often
So these are the two
whale
ones
hunting.
we
All I have to do
based
is go
the
to the
scenario, the script on, but we loved a few other ones. I liked the Nameless City, for example, because it's a story that it's a story without any characters except the narrator. It's a guy
I
going
just hope
to
that I
a
can find a boat able
temple,
to take me to
and
Dark
he discovers some walls and some carving on the wall about carving on the wall. Carving,
correct,
yeah,
yep.
yeah. About people who have disappeared and they are not very human people. And this is the story that's préfiguré.
Figure.
Préfiguré.
Any French you give me is not going to give you whatever you're looking
Yeah.
for.
Preludes. The Cthulhu mythos. Sorry, my translators are really bad. All right.
Just before we go into the next level. Oh wait, that didn't do what I wanted to. That did. Hello everyone. Just if anybody's joining us late, this is going to be Call of Cthulhu. My name is Ben. I'm here from Focus Home Interactive. We are the publishers. I'm wearing a shirt which has the word Focus on it, which is how you can tell. This is Pia. She's here
Hi.
from Cyanide Studio, who are the guys that are making it. She's
Yep.
the lead narrative designer on the game. Any story questions, anything else, hit us up in the chat. I've turned the game down slightly so that hopefully there's slightly less confusing audio. We do have the subtitles on so that you can read that. A lot of what you're seeing today has also been in our other trailers, so if you want it without us at all, then you can look at it there. And of course the game is out October 30th, and you can pre-order now on Steam if you're super excited already. All right.
So they're asking about Lovecraft creators,
Mm-hmm.
not Lovecraft, but the role-playing game. So we have the Dimensional Chamber. He's in the game. We showed him already during the trailers, and you will have some references to other Lovecraft stories, but I can't tell you more.
The difficulty of talking about this game
Without
spoiling
everything.
it has been a constant difficulty, and we're like, oh, should we mention this super cool thing? Oh, should we hold that back? Do we want to talk about what happens with this character or that
Yeah,
character?
yeah.
Even stuff like that we were talking about earlier, where we mentioned,
Yeah.
oh, there's 4 endings. For some people, that maybe that's a spoiler, but it's stuff that certain people need to know, and hopefully people who are hyper.
People talking about Eternal Darkness. I love that game.
Oh, really?
Have you played it?
Did it?
On the
I
GameCube?
played
On the GameCube, it's
about
one
half of it.
Yeah, it's one of the most underrated game ever. And it's very
Underrated.
yeah, it's underrated.
It is Lovecraftian. I agree with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, of course.
Did it influence what you did with Call of Cthulhu?
Not that much, because when I arrived on board, the game was already,
Under development.
yeah,
There had been some work
so,
put into
yeah,
it already.
yeah. So I couldn't barge in and say change everything. I want to do like that. But it's yes, of course we looked at that. It's one of the references.
Someone asked about loading times. Yes, they are slightly long at the moment. It's still being worked on, and game's still in development, as you can imagine, and that's one of that level of optimization is something that's still being worked through. Can you get a demo? No demo planned at the moment. I apologise.
Yeah.
Eternal Darkness was immense. I think you've got some fans for
Is this
saying
going
you
to
like
be the
Eternal
only
Darkness.
Lovecraft title you make? That
I
depends
don't
on
know.
you guys.
Yeah, depends
right.
on everybody
if
involved, I
if
think.
you love it, because here at the studio we feel like we have a lot of different stories from Lovecraft to say, so we are okay to do another one. But our soundtrack is better. You will see it.
Will the Great Race of Yith be in the
No,
game?
they won't. No, but that's funny because we talked about them at the studio recently. But it's very difficult to adapt them into a video game because they are extraterrestrials.
Oh right.
They were
I think
discoverer of, explorer, but they lost their bodies. So now their spirit wander and they can come into your spirit.
every time you say a new thing, it's like more difficult to put it in the game.
Yeah, so that's why they are not in the game. And now you discovered Captain Fitzroy. A nice guy.
Why, thank
He's here to show you the island.
So, what wins?
So in fact, we're now on to Darkwater Island. So this is the home
Does the
of
Hawkins
Sarah
case
Hawkins and her husband Charles Hawkins. They have both died in a fire that happened at their mansion. I don't know if we get a shot of the mansion when we're walking towards. I think it shows up in a second, or Tom will look at it because he's a look at him.
His wife.
It's
Look at
your
his
right.
face.
Sarah Hawkins.
Yeah. And yeah, so we arrive here with Captain Fitzroy. He brings us on his boat, the Scylla, and this is kind of one of the only boats coming into Darkwater anymore because it's essentially an abandoned fishing town. The people that live there are the people that have always lived there. Nobody has any interest in going there otherwise. Tell us a little bit. I mean, what was it like building the world of Darkwater? It's a weird place.
If it's the Hawkins
Yes, actually what we did first was writing the background, what was this
Understood.
island, what was its
going for a look
history.
around the docks.
So we went back quite long. You will discover it through the game, through collectible items that tell you about the story from the 14th century to now. So it's quite a huge job with it. Darkwater used to be a very prominent whale hunting place. Whale.
Whale hunting
Yeah, right.
village.
Village, excellent.
The blood
But
is
then
just beginning to
all the
coagulate.
whales disappeared.
died a
Actually,
short time
men
ago.
hunted them
Only
too
a
much.
specialist.
But also in this very place, they disappeared. They don't really know why. So now there is not a lot of work on this place. It's kind of abandoned, as you can see. But you can find some memories of
I'm looking
its
for this address.
golden age.
Warehouse 36.
You can find it on the
North
bar,
Boulevard.
the Stranded Well. You can find it in other
And so
places,
who are you?
and you will meet the characters.
I didn't
Bradley,
introduce
as you see now,
Edward
the
Pierce,
policeman
brother.
is a very interesting
In any
and
case, it's
important
not very
character.
important.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Bradley. When I first met him,
Can't?
he wasn't my favorite,
Or you don't
but he grew on me at a rate of
Oh,
knots,
no,
and
no.
I think
I'm not getting
he's,
into those games.
he's
me.
just a nice guy.
Now,
All right, more
please,
questions.
allow me
Why
to
did you make the
do my
choice
job.
to play as a defined character and not a customizable character? From my perspective, just as someone that's played through it,
Yep.
it allowed you to do some things with the narrative, particularly using his background, that you wouldn't have been able to do with a customizable character. Certainly not without having to change the story in huge ways, depending on exactly how a character works.
Yes, exactly. As it's a
Prohibition
very
is just a
narrative
joke.
game, we worked on what we call
That suits me
linear storytelling.
Linear storytelling.
Yeah,
correct. There
thank
go.
you. Through cinematics and this kind of thing. So you need a character that has his own story, his own face, because we are not a very big studio. At Cyanide, we are craftsmen, this kind of stuff. How would you say that?
Artisans?
Artisan, yeah, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
We are a small studio, so we can't deliver this kind of cinematics with if you can create your own character. So we decided to go with a guy with a strong backstory, so it will be interesting to show how he reacts facing the madness, the Cthulhu mythos, this kind of stuff. If you just take a blend character, someone you create from scratch, you can't have this kind of deep relationship with character with the
Let's
other
get him
NPCs.
another drink.
So that really is a choice we made.
In my bar, we don't serve troublemakers.
You saw it just like me. That bum deserved a lesson.
Yeah, but he's a regular, and you're not.
I can see that you and I are off to a bad start. I'm here for information, not for a fight.
I prefer it that way. Speak then. I reserve the right to answer or not.
As you're about to
know
see,
where
in
this
fact,
is.
Prohibition is
Warehouse 36.
lightly followed on the island of Darkwater. Nobody's particularly interested in the idea of not drinking. There isn't a whole lot to do here.
If I were you, I wouldn't hang
I
around.
just read strength test. How do tests work?
First off,
It's
there are
so we have
rumors.
two kind of
Sailors
tests
from around here
for the
say you can
skills.
hear noises
You
coming
have the
from the
level of
warehouse
skill,
at night.
so that's when
Screams,
the game tells
that
you
sort of
you need to be professional, master,
And
this
that's
kind of
not
stuff.
all.
And you also
There's the
have
fate of its owners and all the
hidden dice
superstitions that
roll,
go with it.
mostly
I'll
in
say
dialogues,
no
but
more.
also to
Anything
solve
else?
some puzzles. So that's like in the pen and paper RPG
Captain
that
Fitzroy
rolls the
told me
dice,
about a little
and the more points you
Oh,
have
yeah?
put into the skill, the more
That must have been
chances you
before
have
you came
to
looking for a fight
succeed.
in my bar.
One of the things that I found quite interesting when I first started playing it is
Because
this
of a
idea
little
that
tussle.
some
Making
skill
the
tests,
ears
it doesn't
and
matter how good you
I
are,
grant the
sometimes you will
privilege
still
to whoever I
fail.
want.
Yep.
Because essentially it's a world that hates you. And
That'll be
and
all.
what happens is it isn't like you fail and therefore, oh, no content for you, you don't get to enjoy this part of the game. It's more, okay, you failed at doing this, that has this consequence, that means this character now doesn't like you or won't give you some information, you need to find a new way to solve that. So it isn't like failing is actually it's not a state that reduces your experience, it just
No.
changes your experience.
Yeah, exactly. It changes the path, or it changes the way you go through the path.
We had a question about guns.
I've rarely
Yeah.
seen a woman.
This is not a game where you're going to be running around and shooting people every 5 seconds.
the right to
That is
judge
not
me?
something.
No.
There are
Was a
moments in the game in which firearms appear. I am
Let
being
me
very
train,
deliberately vague
stranger.
because it is later on in the game. And you'll have to experience yourself exactly how that stuff plays out. But if you're asking, does it turn to Call of Duty? No. Is there a Santi system? So, Sanity is in the game. So I saw a question earlier that was, what's the difference between hit points and sanity? It isn't really that sort of game. It isn't a game where you have a health bar, and it also isn't a game where you have the idea of like a sanity meter where, I saw something spooky, now my sanity is dropped and I need to not look at the spooky thing and it'll go back up. Sanity is more of a global system, I would say, that goes through the entire game, and decisions that you make affect how Pierce is feeling. For example, the drinking that we did earlier.
Yes, but
not your best bet.
reading the books, that's very from the RPG. Reading some books, choosing truth. The real truth is something your spirit, your mind can't grasp, so that will affect your sanity.
I've never
And
heard this
also the
Only
madder,
people from here know it.
the more
It
mad you
tells the
are,
story of the
more mad.
miraculous
The more mad. Yeah, that
It's
works.
a local
the
legend.
more
You did it.
mad you are,
Watch what you
you
say,
can
young man.
unlock some different
cat's saved
dialogue
our
entries if you are very mad.
Yeah.
Very mad.
Where's
So
the
it's
proof?
a system that is with you throughout the game, but it doesn't work as a kind of. It's not like a second health bar or anything like that.
No, we didn't want that.
It's very much a game that isn't really about the idea of managing your own HP or anything. Again, it doesn't turn into a shooter of that sort at any stage.
Yeah, we wanted something more immersive.
Our grandparents tasted
What era is the game set in?
It's in 1924.
So during that 1920s
I bid you
setting,
farewell.
shortly after the First World War, which is why our Edward Pierce is still suffering from the issues that he encountered there, and also why Prohibition gets to be a part of the plot.
Exactly, and also because that's contemporary to Lovecraft, so
The
it
miraculous
was
catch.
If I was to
for us to
pick
do
up,
that, yeah.
if I was to pick up a Call of Cthulhu game, knowing a little about Lovecraft, and it was set in that 1990 setting, that would be surprising to me. That wouldn't be what I expected, and I think particularly because you want to make a good call. It's a game called Call of Cthulhu. It's
Yeah,
very
exactly.
much the idea of the base kind
Yes,
of
that's what
mythos.
people want.
Yeah, so we had to make sure that stuff was in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Will there be some sort of stealth system? There is a light stealth system. You may see it later on in the demo. It depends exactly what routes we take. But there is some stealth gameplay in there where you need to avoid. I guess you'd call
Dangers?
them. Yes, you need to
Danger?
avoid dangers.
Yeah, exactly.
Be they mortal or otherwise. And in fact, we have some stuff in the works, not in the stream, that might be coming out in the near future
Later,
that
yeah.
explores the stealth system slightly. So if you're interested in that, then keep an eye out on our YouTube channels and our social channels.
I brought out
What's
the
Fitzroy
Charles
got to say for
Hawkins
himself?
cargo manifests.
So as you saw there, we were in the bar.
But in truth,
That's kind of
you're
I guess it's the first hub area of the game.
Exactly.
You explore there when you first get here. It introduces you to a few characters. And something I thought was very clever, and I suppose this is stuff that you were doing, is you get there and that guy, the first guy you see, who spits at your feet and is very cruel to you, it immediately sets up what the island's like.
Yeah,
it doesn't like
exactly.
you because you're not from there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we wanted to convey. Like,
Fishing
no one really wants to talk to him, and that makes the case more appealing. That's a classical storytelling.
How free are you to explore the island? So I'd say the game, it has linear sections, and we've seen this in here. There's the linear section of before, when you're in the office and when you're in the dream sequence, and then you have this more open section where you can explore this little area. Then after this, you'll see we'll go into a more linear section. So there isn't like an open world map or anything like that, but you do have the option of exploring different areas as you come to them, depending on how much you want to. And if you're a player who just wants to go through the main story, you can kind of rush for that. Or as you're seeing Tom do, you can explore more of the areas, find more clues. This can affect exactly how different options you have in conversation later, as well as your understanding of the story.
Yeah, exactly. We wanted the first maps to be a little bit more free than the last ones. The size of
what
the map
Captain
depends
Fitzroy's got to say
on
about
the
this
feeling we want the player to feel. So sometimes it's going to be a little bit more claustrophobic or intimate. It depends of the tone of
This
the story,
place seems half abandoned.
how you progress in the story.
Can you change how characters respond to you? Something like a relationship system. Now, I know there's been some back and forth in the development side on this.
exactly.
Where have we ended up in the kind of beta version of the game?
Even the
So there
antics
is
of
not
these
what I
warframes
will call
still
a relationship system like
you
you can
who
have
lays
in a
down the
Dragon
law around
Age video
Oh, I
game with,
wouldn't
like,
go that
as you
far.
said, management
I'm
of
just the
relationships with
last
characters. But
serving captain on
yes,
Tell me what I
the
can do
main
to
characters of the game, you will see them various times, and depending on how you answer to them, they will remember it, and they will open or close some branches for you. So of course you
I
will
was
have to
looking
deal
at your
with the
photograph.
repercussions of your
One of the
choices.
man in front of the
Indeed.
Ah, yes, I can see the one. you're
Another question here.
Interesting.
Why a first-person camera? Why not a
I thought it
third-person
was-
camera?
They do
but
speak
with a wooden
brilliant.
leg.
Louis
good
McLeod
reason.
fuck.
That's my father in the photograph.
Okay, we should have just done it all.
Yeah,
like,
I can do that
John
one.
Fitzroy.
That's the only one I can do.
Oh, okay. You can't just speak the language natively.
No.
Oh, okay.
We wrote
We have a
some
proper deep
sentences.
one here.
We wrote some sentences in the language, but it was very long. It took us a long time.
really?
I did it myself.
found
I
a
was
threatening
with my
letter
dictionary,
signed by a
online
certain
dictionary.
cat.
So what can we say?
I
It
don't
was
mind you
difficult.
visiting
I don't
the
remember
town
that,
master's
but
office,
I know that
but I'd
one.
prefer if you didn't
That
go
What does it
one.
say?
It says that in
In a language I
his
can
sinking city, lying,
no.
dreaming,
That
he's
shyster
awaiting
wants to make us
Cthulhu
pay
in the city of
protection
Harley.
money.
This
Within
is
six
the
hours.
most famous
say
sentence,
that.
and it's funny because
She
the
terrifies
actors
my
had.
men as much as her own.
It was very painful for
Can you
them
not
to
do
say
anything
it,
to stop
so that's why I
Don't
know it
you
by
worry
heart.
about
Because
that.
every time a new actor came into the voice recording, we had to
Your
do that
manifests have
a lot
been
of time
blacked
with
out.
him. So I
They're
can know
totally
that one.
unreadable.
Couple of questions
Yeah, I
about
saw
why first
I got
person over
no
third
idea who
person.
did
I mean,
it.
this just comes into an immersion thing, right? Like,
Yeah,
remember
exactly.
having
That's a decision.
countersigned
Also
anything
because
special
he's a
enough for someone
detective,
to hide
and we really wanted
why
to be
obliterate
different
the
from the
dates
Sherlock
as well
Holmes
as the goods
video
stored
games,
in
this
the
kind of stuff.
warehouse?
So we were
mean that the
asking
dates
ourselves,
have
how can we
some
make something different? And we feel like the first person, when you're confronted to the mythos creators,
I
could be
don't know.
very cool.
It's not my signature next to that of Charles Hawkins.
I'm at sea for more than half the year. Anyone could have done it during my absence. What seems really important to me is that the dates on these manifests indicate that Charles probably had other contracts.
But not with you, though. I'm looking for
That
Warehouse
yeah,
36.
go ahead.
Sorry.
You know where it is?
Look,
So
it's
you
right
want to
there.
know where
The
can the idea
warehouse
for
is
making a
opposite
Call of
the
Cthulhu
gym.
game with the more
can't
subtle,
miss it.
Subtle.
subtle horror.
The B is
Understood.
just not there.
You
essentially.
know who the building
Subtle
belongs
horror.
to, don't you?
That's basically to stay true to Lovecraft's writing. Lovecraft was never about
belonged to the
jump
Hawkins
scare and
Precisely.
big noise
Ship
and
owners
monsters
from
running
father to son.
everywhere.
I
It's
think
more
that
about
somebody
the
here
atmosphere,
wanted me to
building the
search this
tension,
warehouse.
what's hidden, and you can see it's like wandering in the dark.
I shall be on my way.
And also for the beginning
come
of the
back and see
game,
me when you've
as you
got
can see,
something
the city seems normal, but with something a little strange.
I was asked almost this exact question. We did an IGN live show at Gamescom, which I suggest everybody go and check out if you want to see some more and a little more talk on the game. Where they asked, how do you do the horror in a Call of Cthulhu game?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like you need to build the atmosphere first. You can use a jump scare. A jump scare is a tool within the horror toolbox.
Yeah.
But for a Cthulhu game, you need to build the atmosphere of something being not quite right, something doesn't like you, the people here don't like you, and then you can then do what you like to the player after that because they're in that mindset where they're creeped out. And if that involves a jump scare, sure, but then you can do more with the idea of subtle horror and that sort of thing.
And also, as developers, we
We're all a
believe
little on
that
edge
players they don't
are you doing
remember jump scares.
I'm investigating
it's
the death
very
of the Hawkins
effective
family.
immediately, but you tend to forget
wanna
about
drag
them.
up all that stuff again.
While you
My
will forget,
investigation has led me
I
to this
hope,
warehouse.
for a very long
Case was
time,
closed
these
months ago.
some maps. We have some specific maps we did
Who
for
are
you.
these others so interested in the warehouse?
And why
Yeah,
would I
exactly.
tell
Scare
you?
that comes from the imagination. Yeah, you start to imagine what's coming.
You and I are on the
Good
same side
writing
of the
for
law.
video game is
yeah?
about connecting
You
the
don't
dots.
wanna know the truth
So
behind
in
things.
Call of Cthulhu,
Are
we
you saying our
don't give
work
you
was
all
not up
the
to
answers,
snuff?
all the clues,
Forget it.
all the keys to understand the story.
Thank
we give
you
you
for
bits
your
of the
valuable
story,
help.
and you have
Okay,
to
sir.
think. You have to think about it, and so you can guess what happened.
Just to catch up on what's going on in the game, so we've arrived on the island of Darkwater. We need to get into Warehouse 36. This is an area that it's known that the Hawkins were involved with. I believe we know that they owned it at this stage. And so we're trying to work out how to get in. It's been locked up by the police because they're investigating it.
got to
We went
enter
to the
the
police
Hawkins
officer, we said, hey, let us in. He said
it's
no,
gonna be
because we're just a
No,
private
it's very
detective.
simple,
He
in
doesn't
fact.
care for
Yeah.
us from Jack.
Fuck off.
I don't
We're
give
now
a
trying to get
damn
past
about your
these
racket. I just
fine
wanna get into this
gentlemen.
warehouse.
He's very upstanding,
give a
definitely
damn
not
about
thugs.
you.
And they're going to also
Whatever
tell
your
us to
reason for
go
wanting
away.
inside
And so there's a number of different ways to get past this. And this is, once again, I mentioned that there are open
you,
areas and there are more linear areas. In this more open area, you have the option of, how do you want to get into this warehouse? And depending on how you do that, you'll see different things, you'll experience different areas. And again, you can fail to get past these guys, you can fail to get into the warehouse a different way, and then you will see different areas by doing that. So you're getting more content, you're getting more interesting areas by doing that, rather than just you failed so you don't get to see something.
Yeah, exactly.
With her little knife under my throat.
So we'll see which way he chose.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And for example, you could never come over to this left-hand side of this island.
Yeah,
You could never see any of the stuff we're seeing now. You don't have to eavesdrop on these guys. You don't have to talk to them in the first place. You don't have to find the way past them. You can do everything on the right-hand side of the island. You can do both. Bunch of different ways to get through this situation.
You live here?
Why did you do that, huh?
We saw what you did to St. Brendan.
Yeah, we'll teach you to come onto our island and ridicule our protectors.
Somebody asked here specific about the conversation system.
Yeah.
Are options that you don't have access to
How can
grayed
I
out,
be the
or are
one
they
who
simply
defaced
invisible?
your saint?
It depends.
I've
We have
just come
two.
ashore,
We have two
Louise.
options for that.
That's true.
If it's
We're
skill
as drunk as
related, it
lords.
will be shown
You bet.
gray.
You could have gone
So
by without us
and
seeing
it says you clearly
Do
that
not
you don't have
rile
the skill
hardly stand
unit.
up.
If
He's
it's
right.
what we call
We're no
clue
match
related, we won't
for the
show it to
moment.
you because that would
We're
spoil you
annoyed.
about
It's
an information you didn't
understandable.
get.
We don't want to give you information that you aren't supposed to have through the fact that you can
Yeah,
read it
thank
or
you.
something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And
The clues are the information
got
you
to be
get
them.
through
There's one of 'em who's
exploring
always going back
and talking
forth
to
the
people.
statue.
yeah, so we've seen that if you've seen the little unlocked
Exactly.
logos,
Oh,
those are the
we
ones
need
that
for
will
them
be
to
invisible
hear
if you
us.
haven't found the stuff that
brings
shows
you
them.
to dark
Whereas
water?
for example, the fist, which is the strength icon, that will just be grayed out if you don't
Two
have enough
guys
strength to
behind.
do that.
Exactly. So if you
guard.
fail, you cannot fail the other person. That's
bootleggers.
more complicated than that
Scum.
because we will be
They're
lousy
protecting
game
their
developers if it was
territory.
like that.
From whom, I wonder?
You have a different
really
path,
don't have a
and we have
choice
what we
anyway.
call. Should I
More
say
scared
the
of
trick?
cat than an attack
Go
by
ahead.
drunken
Again, we always have a
Only they would
security
kill
path
each
that
other.
unlocks itself if you fail. I love that one on the docks. She's
Yeah,
very
it's good.
classy.
It's
yeah,
good.
she's cool.
I have an
So yeah,
offer
you know,
that could interest you.
you won't ever be
Yeah,
blocked from
listen.
progressing if you
Yeah.
get particularly
I need to
unlucky
keep them
or
busy.
your skills don't match up to
You
that
send
particular
us
set
to
of
take
challenges.
the punishment
But there
while
are a
you
number of
go
different ways to get
quietly
through,
about
one
your
of which you are
business.
likely to hit, and
What's
eventually
in it
there is
for
one
us?
way that
What would
is
convince you to help?
that you
only
cannot
one
fail
thing
that
Exactly.
will
Get us
eventually
to
let you
move.
through.
Yeah, and what we tried to
sure.
do was that
Bring us something to drink
every
and we'll
each
take
of those
care
paths
of the
are cool in
bootleggers.
a different way. There's not one. If you fail everywhere, every
I'll be
path,
back.
the security
Take
one
your
is not
time.
less cool
We're
than the other
going
ones.
nowhere.
Yeah, it's still it doesn't feel different from another path,
Yeah,
essentially. How much will the game cost? So it's up on Steam right now. You can pre-order if you like. It's out on the 30th of October, which is in what, like a
2 months.
couple of months?
Yeah.
Couple of months. It currently costs, so the base price is €45. It's on 10% discount for pre-orders. I believe, can I see here how much it costs? No, because I don't have enhanced Steam installed. It's around $45 and probably around £40, I would say, based on normal
But 40
transitions.
euros, that's what you
Brent.
were.
Yeah, because it's 45 base, and then it's discounted to 40
Alright.
by the 10%.
I
yeah.
can't even say which language it's from.
What languages will the games you brought? A lot, actually.
There are, in fact, I can. Do you want to read all these
Yeah.
out? There are French,
French.
English, Italian, German,
Yep.
Spanish, and now I can't translate these
It's
from the Italian.
Polish,
Oh, there we
it's
go.
Brazilian Portuguese, it's Russian, simplified Chinese, and oh, that's one. We will have maybe another one.
There.
2 more.
Okay, sweet.
2 more.
So still being transferred.
yeah,
So
a lot
the
more.
audio is English only, but then we
Yeah.
have all of those languages for the interface. For pop-up hints and
One bottle more or
that
less.
sort of thing. So you see
Exactly.
here that we managed to break into.
Cool.
Well, we managed to lockpick this door. Again, the lockpick you could fail and you would never find that bottle of liquor. We're not actually going to take this route because there's another one that we want to show you. But you can
Exactly.
use that bottle of liquor to, I believe it's bribe these guys.
You can bribe the guys, the 2 drunkards, and they will start a fight with the bootleggers.
Yeah.
You can also go straight to the bootleggers because this is the evidence. This is
Evidence.
an evidence that they have been stalling and their boss is stuck. But who is their boss? You
Who is
will
their
meet
boss?
the boss. So you will we will show you a different path. No Japanese. I wish Japanese. It's not affixed yet,
Maybe.
but
It
maybe.
could happen.
Yeah, it could happen, exactly. Yeah, multiple.
There are multiple endings.
Four
Details? No details. But there are multiple endings. They, in my opinion,
Yeah.
are all representative of the universe.
Oh, thank you.
So this is the route we're going to take.
I love that.
It looks
route.
like there's
This
a way
was
in.
this is
Great.
one that is based around the idea of if you've upped your strength, as we mentioned at the start. It's also a more investigatory route. It's a more solo route.
Yeah.
This doesn't involve, Pierce doesn't have to talk anyone to do this route. He doesn't have to
handle.
be particularly
Must
good
come
with
from his own
people.
winches.
He can just find items in here that will then allow him to open that grate. And if you see down at the bottom left, we have this question mark icon that's popping up. Do you want to explain that, Pia?
Yes, that's the hidden
I could use this old
object
winch.
item, and it's bleep bleep bleep. Like I don't know how you say that.
It beeps. It beeps at you. It blips at you.
It blips as blinks. Yeah, as long as you have items to find, and when you have found all the items, it will be checked. And it is also a hidden dice roll. It's also a hidden door.
Yeah, there's a roll for
Sorry,
them.
sometimes you can't have it if you failed it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in the RPG.
And so this is kind of a way to hint at you that there are items that you can find around the world.
Yeah.
They show up in green rather
Yeah.
than white when you mouse
be
over them,
possible to mount this
or
cog
look at
before.
them with the gamepad. And it's just kind of a little bit of a helper, but it also has a core in the RPG system, and you
Yeah.
can raise your spot hidden skill if you're interested in finding all those items. And as you can imagine, and here we need to have strength.
Looks like everything is in its place. All
Will
I
he
have
manage
to
it?
do is turn this.
It's going to be super awkward if he fails now.
Yeah.
I believe in you, Pierce. Well done, Pierce.
Yes.
And we'll see what's down there. Are there multiple playable characters? No, but given the way that you can customize Pierce's skills, there is replayability in that way, in that you want to pick different skills to see exactly how conversations can go.
And also, yeah,
Maybe there's some other stuff
maybe.
where
Yeah, we
things
know,
can happen.
but you don't. Maybe.
So is this game similar to LA Noire as far as investigation goes? So we'll show you an investigation scene.
Yeah,
it's coming up in a second, and you can see
Yeah,
exactly how
it's
it works.
pretty different. It's pretty different. We don't have all that lying system. This is not about.
It's not quite as much about interrogation
No,
of
no,
people.
it's not about interrogation. It really is
coming
about
from the spoil.
atmosphere and finding
I
stuff.
hope it's not toxic.
So as we descend into the depths here, now as I mentioned, this is all of this is unique to this route. All of this underground stuff. If you got past those guards, you just end up with the.
So cool.
You just end up in the warehouse
Yeah.
naturally.
Let them see that part.
It was all very normal.
Yeah.
Didn't see anything out of the ordinary there.
Yeah, that's exactly what we try to convey. Is sometimes you feel like you're losing it, and you're going back into reality in a blink.
Yeah.
And we really want it to express in a game, which is something that's very difficult. Is like when your main character is questioning his own sanity, and you have what we call irony. Is when the reader or the watcher or the player knows something more. What?
Dramatic irony.
Yeah, thank you. Dramatic irony, something more than his main character, and sometimes it can be very cool for the story. Sometimes it can ruin the story if you don't manage it. If you don't find the middle, the sweet spot. So that's what we try to do.
What is the
Of
connection
course,
between
you
this
play Call of
place
Cthulhu, so
and the
of
Sarah
course you
Hawkins
know
case?
that everything is happening for real. But how will you live it, experience it through Edward Pierce?
Indeed. I hope there are a lot more moments like this. There are. We know that we have shown the tentacle grab under the warehouse a couple of times in different trailers. That is purely a spoilers thing. We could show you the other ones, but they are later within the game. They reveal
Exactly.
more stuff about the game.
And they are related to the story. We can't show them.
Exactly. There may be a little glimpse of that sort of stuff in upcoming trailers. So, this is our investigation system. Do you want to go over this, Pierre?
This is what we call the
We might keep a news
reconstruction.
clipping about Sarah
It's
Hawkins.
like the crime scene is frozen, and using your deduction skill, you can see what happened.
this
So
one of Sarah
we just
Hawkins'
used
paintings?
occultism to know that there was someone, what he feels about the painting. Let's look at this photograph. You use psychology.
What is this picture of
and
Charles
what is the
and
picture of-
Sarah
yeah, you
Hawkins
fail your
doing
psychology, so you have this particular guy on the bed, and you don't know why he's doing that. If you had succeeded in psychology, you would have found
It
another
smells as bad as
piece
it
of
looks.
information.
And psychology is one of the skills in the game.
Exactly.
Much like medicine.
Medicine.
Money to buy painkillers.
And all of that, depending on what skill level you are and how the skill check goes, you will discover different things about exactly what's happening, and that'll unlock new dialogue options. And also, like, you know, some of it doesn't necessarily unlock something in the game.
Yeah.
Some of it's just what do you know about the story,
Exactly.
and when do you discover different things, when do you understand certain different areas.
Exactly.
Can you die? Yes.
Yeah.
How does death work? You die. Can you die from going insane? Kind of depends on your definition, and your definition of truth as well. And is there any going back then? There is. There is. You can, you know, if you die, if you get a game over, which do happen, you know, you load a save file and it works as it would in another game. But obviously there are threats in this game that perhaps you wouldn't be used to from another.
Exactly. Yeah, so each scene can be seen in many ways. Yes.
Threaten him.
Oh, threaten him.
To hell with you, Bradley. I actually like Bradley. I'm sorry, Bradley.
Poor Bradley.
I see only one overweight police officer and one.
Yeah, I love that line.
Edward Pierce is a savage.
No, if it's the player wants to be a savage, he can.
Relax. Look what I found.
All right, he's calming him
Can
down.
you explain what this painting is doing here?
This strange point.
Are we going to spend our skill points? Yeah, we'll
know
spend
it.
them at the start of the next map.
It was in the Hawkins mansion when we came to
Tom's like, no,
investigate the fire.
I'm not going to show them the skill
You
system. They
confirmed
don't
that
deserve
was
it.
removed from the crime scene.
Would you say this game is a good introduction to Lovecraftian horror? Personally,
Yeah.
I would say yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to go back along his trail.
But, as Tom says, it is also good for, it's good for long-time fans. I would say it's like the second major piece of Cthulhian mythos that I've personally like imbibed. I played the old Dark Corners of the Earth game, and I played this game, and that's basically it. I've had different stuff along that time, you know, movies and stuff that have used it as a reference point.
A lot of movies use it.
The thing is that like almost nobody is completely like absent from the Cthulhian mythos
Yeah.
because it's referenced so much. I've been playing the latest WoW expansion. There's stuff about it in there where
Yeah,
they've referenced that
yeah,
sort of thing,
yeah.
and
Too bad
it's
that
all
you
over the
got to
place, and
see
it's
the
used
game.
all over the place to
you?
tell different stories. So,
Come on.
as an
Keep a
actual
smile.
Cthulhian mythos, actually
have
official
something to wind
Lovecraft game, I think it's a
Okay,
great
I get
introduction to that
we go to
actual
the mansion?
universe, and I think
Who
it
the
builds
hell are
great
you?
on the kind of assumed knowledge that everybody has
Yeah,
about
and
the
also
idea of cosmic horror.
I've got my
But
eye
we
on
had
you.
in mind we had
We'll
the
meet again.
long players. We had the
Is it far,
fan
this
in mind.
mansion?
We really
Long-time fans.
Yeah, thank you. The long time fans we had in mind. We really didn't want to disappoint them. So that's really what we tried to do.
You see the building? That's the
How much do you need to know about Lovecraftian lore to play this game?
Nothing because we really introduced everything that was a little bit specific, but without being too how would I say? It's not focused on beginners, but you can still get it if you don't know anything. I'm very happy because people are already talking about the characters. There's one who says like the policeman officer knows too much. I want to see what you think the game is about. You know, I want when people start asking themselves, "Oh, I think that this guy is creepy. I think that I think it's cool for us."
It's a really great game for letting you decide which characters you're going to trust.
Yeah.
And who you think is, on the good side, on the bad side, who is telling you the truth, who isn't. And it lets you do that within the gameplay as well. And
And what about cats?
What about
Actually,
cat?
we have a cat. And that's exactly as you say in Lovecraft.
Well,
They
here we are,
they hold more
Hawkins
power in
Mansion.
one paw that you can possibly imagine. Yep, that's true. She's like that. Our cat.
Will there be other Lovecraftian monsters that play a role in this game? Who can say? Who can say who's going to show up?
The place has been
Who
abandoned
knows?
since the fire.
Could be anybody.
There's only old Winchester in his hut.
You cannot have a pet Shoggoth. I apologise. We should have got that into
Clearly
the
not doing
design
any
meeting.
gardening.
You know, Silas Winchester has been working for the Hawkins family as far back as I can remember. Charles was like his son to him. The day of the fire, he lost his whole family, so he's got nowhere to go. And, as you'll see, in a way, he's still watching over them. Is there anything else you want to ask me? Or do you want to go up there?
Night falls quickly here, and I want to be able to see when we arrive.
I'll go with you, if only to reassure Silas.
You stay here and keep an eye on things.
Okay. But don't get the impression that I'll leave you alone inside the mansion.
Any cameos from other Lovecraftian characters that he may have made in his mythos? Humans, that
One particular one.
Oh, really? I thought the answer to this was no. Holy shit.
Not as NPCs, but we talk, of course, about one or
okay.
two different characters from Lovecraft.
Yeah, it's an original story that uses the basis of the Call of Cthulhu story and the
Exactly.
Shadow of Innsmouth story to tell an original tale within the mythos.
Jeepers. Poe's prophetic raven.
Yeah, we don't have weird people that turn into fishes in that
1693.
game. That's not the direction
This
we
house
wanted.
is much older than it seems.
No fishmen confirmed.
Yep. Oh, I like that part with the trees.
Oh yeah, I love it. Just
And the
looking, just kind of
cemetery.
exploring around this area. This is another area where multiple ways to get through it. You'll see kind of the I suppose the challenge for this area in a minute. But it's a really nicely put
Flowers
together
on Sarah Hawkins' grave.
little
Fresh.
level, this one. And it's pretty short, and it's not, it isn't as wide or as large as the docks area, but it is an
Someone
enjoyable.
must really hate Charles Hawkins. Poor kid.
Well, oh my, how do you say that? Gorznak? Gorznak, there's always the possibility that we aren't telling you the whole truth. But indeed, what is truth, Pia?
I know.
I've seen a couple of questions about the sinking city. Someone asked, are we worried about it? No. It's another game telling us, a story that has similar inspirations. I think it's great that there's more Lovecraftian stories out there.
Yeah, the more people like Lovecraft,
yeah.
the happier we are. But
We hope it's
as-
great. It's coming out in March.
Yeah.
It's a little further away from our game.
Right.
Please play ours. Let us know what we think. Please play theirs. Let them know what you think. I'm super excited to play that as well. I know almost nothing about it.
No.
And I'm
But
excited
as
to see, how the
developer,
two
we don't
compare.
know anything.
Yeah, exactly.
We focused on our game.
Oh, yeah, I
we
bet,
didn't see the
yeah.
other ones. I've been working a lot lately.
Yeah.
This entrance.
Yeah, there's a
is
lot of heads down. But yeah, we're excited.
Whoa!
You are
We had a
trying to
question
force
of
the
people
door,
asking
you
us,
nosy
at
prick.
what
Easy,
stage
sir,
of the
all right?
development we are.
Oh yeah,
Down the
yeah.
axe.
You
It's
know what we
nearly
do with
finished.
rubble like
Yeah,
you?
we're well. You see on the screen up in the top right, it says
Yeah.
Call of Cthulhu Beta.
Exactly.
That is it's an honest description of the game, and it's legitimate use of the word beta as well. It is in a beta stage. We have pretty much all the content is in there, like
Yep.
all the levels are in there. All the idea of how you go through the game, what you do, the endings and such are in there. But you guys are pretty much working on the bugs at this stage.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Debugging all day long.
Yeah, you may have seen some slight bugs in the. Oh, what should we do? Grab his axe.
Try.
Grab his axe.
The timer! Oh, wow, that was...
Oh,
Yeah.
got it. Tom is an absolute pro gamer.
Got build tension.
control yourself.
And you succeed.
You've got guts, you little bastard.
Thank you, Goznak. I hope you enjoy it.
I've got some talking to do.
Understood.
Would you say the story is self-contained or sets itself up for a continuation? Now, this is difficult to answer without spoilers.
I guess
Stephen
that
Webster
depends on
has
what
several
you do.
Yeah, I think that depends on your interpretation and your ending and a number of other things.
Yeah,
And I
there are
did
a lot
tell
of
him that we
choices
should let
depending
the
on your
dead
choices.
rest in peace.
He wants to restore the reputation of his daughter. I just need to see where the fire started.
No, I
Yes.
can't let you in.
Man in
The
room
mansion
5,
isn't
it's
safe.
hide and
That's
seek.
why you
Yeah.
barricaded the
Mostly.
entrance.
Mostly, there are moments where,
And this door?
It's
We
locked.
have a different rhythm.
sure
yeah,
stay
yeah, different things happen throughout the game. I think there's a nice.
You're no match for me.
Are you just beating up an old man at this point? Sorry, me and Pierre are paying, quite a lot of attention to the game, but we're trying to focus on chat. And while we're doing that, an old man is being bullied by Tom Butler.
rid of you.
Let's see what more I can learn from this mansion.
Tyrion the Mad, that is a question we absolutely cannot answer without spoiling the game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I would love to tell you,
Yeah.
but play it. Please play it. Please let us know what you think. And hey, if you want a sequel, let Cyanide know. Yeah, we already have Steam achievements in. We actually tried to hide them just because it's kind of weird to have Steam achievements popping up during a stream. I thought I had, and I hadn't. This is all my fault. Everything that's happening is my fault. But yes, you get a little preview of them in French there.
Yes. Shall we enter?
Gamzrak, we're interested to see what people think in comparison to the old game. I personally like it a lot. I like the old game a lot as well, and I'm
Coming with you.
interested to see,
way I'll
how
leave
people
you
compare.
alone in there
So there will
without
be
you.
action-oriented sections. There are sections which have action in them.
Yep.
I don't know if I would describe them as action-oriented because you are still within those playing a investigative.
Yeah.
A private investigator. You are not
Yeah, yeah.
playing well, he's an ex-soldier, but he isn't a
Yeah, you're still
soldier.
a mere human.
yeah, and
Against.
and some of the things that are doing that action are not mere humans.
Yeah, exactly.
Follow me.
The soundtrack is atmospheric. This is
Atmospheric?
what the sound designer told me.
That's how
It's
you
atmospheric.
That's how you describe it.
Yeah.
So now inside the house, did we do the? You didn't spend the points, did you, Tom? You did exactly
Ah.
what you said you were going to do, which was not spend the points, and then didn't spend the points. He's looking at me like I'm an ass. So
You have 6 character points to spend.
6. Whoa!
What are you trying to do now?
Get some investigation.
Strength.
Strength. You're just going all in strength.
Everything in strength.
So as you can see, you kind of get these character points fairly quickly through the game.
Some, spot hidden. I think it's good.
But because you can't level up medicine and occult outside of the initial start of the game, where you get to decide exactly what starting levels you want those to have. Having those character points isn't always going to let you do exactly what you want.
Yeah. And as we already told them, medicine and occultism can't be increased through the scale points. You
And
have
as I
to-
mentioned earlier, that screen is currently
Yeah.
under development. There is a
Yeah,
new version coming
exactly.
soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll get to show that to you guys soon, TM. You're also seeing the way that we
clues,
track
yeah.
the clues and show you what's in your inventory and that sort of thing. Again, some of this is temporary. This is kind of the final stuff that's being worked on, as we mentioned, the game being in beta. And yeah, this is where you get to look and see exactly, what have you discovered, what have you found, what items do you have with you, as well as what does Pierce know? Or think he knows.
Yeah.
So we've got one more investigation scene to go, I believe. And then we'll probably have to wrap it up. It's been a pleasure.
Already?
Yes.
Like
The Last Supper of the
It's been
Hawkins.
an hour. We sadly,
this?
sadly, we don't have the full 2 hours.
Yeah.
I would love to, but you have to go back to making a game. I have to go back to
Alright,
making
yes,
trailers and
exactly.
such. But we've got one more
We'll
investigation
see.
scene to go through, and we'll probably do another Call of Cthulhu stream at some point.
Cool.
Why not? Are there other languages beside English? There are for written text. The audio is English only, but we have a number of
8.
languages that you can see over on the Steam page.
Roast. What
The
strange
text and
creature
the
has
menus
flesh
have all been
like
translated
this?
into, or will be translated into. Any event to boost intellect and occult. So for occult,
This
you can read
place is
books,
for the
right?
head of the
Exactly.
family. Charles
And find
Hawkins.
occult items.
Yeah, which teach you about the occult through various means. Play the full game, please.
Nope. No way.
Not until launch. So I'm sure there'll be a number of people on Twitch playing this full game
Probably
come launch
here.
day.
That will be fun.
Smash
too.
just played.
Any?
Face.
Oh, I like this question. Any worry about launching so close to Red Dead Redemption 2? We think Cthulhu is scarier than cowboys. You've been waiting for that. I have.
Sarah
I have been
Hawkins
waiting for that.
played. Why did she leave it untouched?
Did you visit any real
Something
locations for
happened to this
inspiration?
table.
Not personally,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately.
Level designers may have.
Yeah, exactly.
And, there's always looking at pictures and stuff.
Exactly.
Hey, Pierce.
Did you purely pull from Lovecraft, or did you look at later prestige writers?
Oh, that's an
This
excellent
dinner
question.
table tells us a lot about the Hawkins
We know about them because what we,
Well, we don't have
discovered
all
when
day.
we started working on the Lovecraft work is that it was actually the inventor of how would you say, it's a story on various medium. Like the Star Wars.
A multimedia production.
Yeah, exactly. So what Lovecraft did, he was inventing this cult of Cthulhu, and a lot of writers wrote
Let's see if I
story
can
about
find something
him,
that
and
comes
he was sending them letters with informations about the cult, about how you spell words, where it origins, and he was looking at this world
They had a fight.
expanding. It's incredible. So of
Why?
course we watched it closely.
Did Sarah
All right.
Hawkins lose one of her
I think we're going to wrap it up.
shoes?
Yeah.
I'm going to put the camera back on so they can see our beautiful, beautiful faces. Greetings, and welcome to Call of Cthulhu, the official adaptation of Chaosium's tabletop RPG from Focus Home Interactive and Cyanide Studio. This is you, Edward Pierce, war veteran, private investigator, struggling alcoholic. You come to the near-forgotten Darkwater Island to look into the deaths of the Hawkins family after an inferno engulfed their stately home.
Well, here we are. Hawkins Mansion.
$1693. This house is much older than it seems. Whoa!
You were trying to force the door, you nosy prick!
Easy, sir, all right? Put down the axe.
You know what we do with rubble like you? We gut them! Dump them into the ocean!
Whoa! You're Mr. Winchester. Lower that axe. Let's talk calmly.
I'll show you how we have it out on Darkwater.
The encounter with groundskeeper Winchester can be resolved in a number of
Sarah
ways.
Hawkins' father sent me
Intimidation,
here to
subterfuge,
investigate the death of his
good old-fashioned sneaking. It's your choice. Your skills will determine your fate and are improved throughout your journey.
Dead to rest in peace.
Follow me. I know the place.
Incidental details will tie into your understanding of what happened to the Hawkins family, and the story of the island as a whole. Your skills will determine how much knowledge you can glean from a painting, a book, or a ritual circle.
The Last Supper of the Hawkins. What does this tell me? They seem happy, but Charles is already looking off into the future. His marriage just a stop along the way. Let's see if I can find something the cops missed. They had a fight.
Pierce is not a magical being, but he is extremely perceptive, and a great investigator.
Did Sarah Hawkins lose one of her shoes? How? The child's corpse left a trace.
During these reconstruction scenes, you find clues to quite literally build a picture of what happened.
Did someone escape the fire?
The more clues you find, the more you will know heading into conversations and other situations in the future.
If the painting I found on the docks really came from here, How come it didn't burn?
Of course, in Call of Cthulhu, knowledge has a price, and blissful ignorance is sometimes preferable. The more you discover, the closer you come to truth, the further you push your sanity to the brink and risk the abyss of madness. Your journey is just beginning.
So, K-Gems takes a very rich universe of Lovecraft, with cosmic horrors, ancient gods, and they make this pen and paper RPG. So we take our roots from this pen and paper RPG.
Okay. Did you guys play the game? Or?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
You did? Okay, good.
Well,
Like the tabletop game? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
That's pretty impressive. I know a lot of these games are so popular. Tabletop coming back, and to bring this art and to bring this setting and to bring it so alive is such a treat for fans of Cthulhu and Lovecraft.
Thanks, Stranger Things.
Right?
Yeah, I guess we can attribute them. I was going to say Matt Mercer and all the wonderful work the D&D community is doing. Shout out Anna Prosser. But the setting of Lovecraft is so important to his storytelling. Can you tell us a little bit about where the game is set, and is it northeast of the United States?
Yes, sure.
You want to go?
Yes. So the story takes place on a remote island named Darkwater. You will play as Edward Pierce, a private investigator from Boston in the early 20s. So the story starts like a normal Lovecraft story. So we've been hired to investigate on a very suspicious fire accident that took the life of the Hawkins family. And as long as you progress and Pierce gets closer to the truth, he will fall into madness and nothing good at the end.
And are we trying to fall into madness? Are we trying to avoid and hold off madness as long as we can
more
here?
the latter, yeah.
All right. And how does the madness as it encroaches upon our player affect the gameplay?
Yeah, it's a core question to this game. So it's not about a system properly, okay? We try to put the player inside the shoes of the protagonist of a Lovecraftian story. So the point is to make him become mad, because every protagonist in a Lovecraft story becomes mad in the end. So it's not about playing with a system. We didn't want the player to be aware that there were systems working behind the scene, because then he would understand it and he could, be able to master it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so no, it's pretty story-driven, and you will become mad. The point is, can you retain some of your sanity in the end, so you will still have some free will?
I absolutely love that there are things that the player cannot see and does not know as they go through. I'm sure, like, since it's very story-driven, like, do your choices, like, affect everything, like, around you and that kind of stuff?
A photograph.
Yes, not every choice, but yeah, you have at several points in the game some very important choices or action to take or not to take, or decision to know about something or to just ignore it. These are the step the player can choose.
Excellent. As you're traveling through this game, do you stop and pick up bits of collectibles or lore or stuff like that?
All about information.
Okay. So it's like hunting for clues.
Yeah, but not in a Sherlock way. It's more about, at the beginning, this is an investigation.
Okay.
But as your protagonist begins to understand that he put his fingers into something very horrific, then he will decide that, it's not a superhero. So he will just say, oh, I just got to get out of here.
Right.
Yeah, so it's, in the end, not very much a game of investigation. It begins like a normal case, as in most of Lovecraftian story. But then it follows up with some kind of survival pursuit.
How linear is the story progression?
It's linear you do every chapter in a given order.
Okay.
But in every chapter you have branches. It depends on how you build your characters, the skills you decided to upgrade or not, the choice you've made, the action you took, and the relationship you developed with the main characters of our story. For example, you want to reach your objective, you can use your skill and lockpick a door, you can use your athleticism to push obstacles, you can talk to some cop and make friends with him, so he allows you to pass through the main door, or you can, I don't know, learn things about the tunnels underneath and decide to go that road.
Okay, so there's a RPG system in place.
Yes.
Okay. How do you acquire these skills? Is there experience or?
Yeah, you have two ways. You want to explain?
Yeah, so as you progress through the story, you will be rewarded by experience points.
Okay.
And there are some other skills that will develop only if you find the right items on the environment.
Okay.
Like forensic books or things like that. So we have a lot of skills such as occultism, psychology, investigation, or even spot hidden, which is very important in the KGM rulebook.
So what you're saying is that a player who is slow and meticulous and looks at every, that's what I do, will be rewarded because you'll find more like...
You will be able to do better choices.
Okay.
So as a coward who is afraid of facing fears and will always make the safest choice to get through the place quickest, am I still going to be able to
It depends.
move forward in this game?
Yeah, of course you will be, but some possibilities will close because you didn't act directly, you know? Sometimes you have to act fast, decide fast, and it will be a matter of guts and quickness.
Well, my question is, we see a lot of games draw inspiration from Lovecraft and Cthulhu and pay homage to the characters in their gameplay, but this is one of the first times we've seen a game full on tackle Lovecraftian monsters. So we have a lot of favorites, you know, Cthulhu everybody loves, but there's like the fish head villagers and the weird blobby gross people. How many other Lovecraftian characters are we going to encounter?
It's hard to tell without spoiling the game.
Okay. That's fair.
So we will encounter some of the creatures of the meadows. We will hear about other creatures of the meadows without seeing them. But as far as I can tell, we speak about